Sing for joy, O heavens, and exalt, O earth. Break forth, O mountains, into singing. For the Lord has comforted his people, and will have compassion on his suffering ones. But Zion said, the Lord has forsaken me, my Lord has forgotten me. Can a woman forget her nursing child, or show no compassion for the child of her womb? Even these may forget, yet I will not forget you. See, I have inscribed you on the palms of my hands. Your walls are continually before me. Some of us go through life quietly. Maybe we prefer it that way, going about our business without much mind as to who's watching, caring little for the limelight. Others of us go through life with a bit more volume in our voices. Maybe we prefer it that way. We have something to say and hope others will listen up or take notice. Still others of us go through life with even more volume. And somehow, without even saying a word, our lives speak. The work of our hands and the commitments of our very souls are plain for all to see, and still for others of us, a few special others, our lives actually sing. Like music's mysterious power, those lives that sing enrich those lucky enough to be around them, somehow adding beauty and peace in the midst of life. Those lives actually aren't dependent upon volume at all, as even a single soprano voice may sound to us like a chorus of hundreds. That life was Kathleen's, Mom's, Nana's, Mrs. Nolin's. We mourn the loss of a special woman today, but we also celebrate and remember someone who profoundly impacted so many of our lives. For such a small person, Nana lived big. Her passion and enthusiasm were clear in everything she did, whether in performing, teaching, directing, or in running a family Christmas party. And when I say running, I mean that Nana was in charge. Her presence was not only heard, but felt as well. Something about her was compelling, and you wanted to be near her. Nana's life sang and added so much beauty to this world. She was beautiful herself. Her voice was beautiful, her music beautiful, and her love for her family perhaps the most beautiful of all. Perhaps that's why her husband, Wally, of 60 years, knew she was worth chasing in those early days. I can't help but see her zest for life in my own work in the church, especially when I'm preaching. I can barely contain myself sometimes because I am so excited about what I have to say. One of Nana's former students commented under her obituary this week that Mrs. Nolin could barely stay on that piano bench when accompanying her prize choirs at Copley Junior High School that we have been hearing throughout the service. And I never sit down to a piano without seeing Nana's work carefully inscribed on my hands, for she shaped them to make beautiful music. And therein lies perhaps her greatest gift. Her life not only sang, she inspired others to sing. I mean that quite literally, but also figuratively. Whatever you do, do it with great passion, care, and joy, she might have said. How she could get 100 or more middle school boys to get excited about choir is beyond many of us. But Grandpa shares that when she walked into the classroom, the boys or girls would immediately cease conversations and sit with rapt attention, hungry for whatever Mrs. Nolin would have for them that particular day. And Nana always had something to say. There was never a question as to what her opinion was, and she would let you know it. But you never questioned her love. And because of her, they sang. We sang. Today she returns home, soon to be laid to rest in Doylestown, the place where she was moved with her family as a 1-year-old. Today she returns home, a true gift from God, who in faith we believe has returned to God, where she rests, and where the labors of her life's work have ceased, and the many toils of her mind are no more. Today she returns home, held by the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, not just another chorus member in the great cloud of witnesses, but you guessed it, its director. You and I both know she wouldn't have it any other way. What I do here today as her first grandson is a great honor of my life. But for some reason, I feel like Nana would rather hear from a chorus today, rather than just a soloist. And so in the next few moments, Kathleen's kids, grandkids and immediate, will help me tell her story. Kathleen was a mother.
I think it's difficult to sum up a life so well lived, but it does warrant a try. People often define their lives in one of two ways: what we are or what we do. For Mom, it wasn't an either-or definition. What she was what she did, and what she did was who she was. I didn't just share Mom with Julie and Dave. I shared Mom with hundreds, thousands of kids over the years. When I was in 9th grade, Mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. The night before her surgery, one of her students with whom I had become friends, sisters if you will, called me and said, "Dee Dee, I don't think you understand what it would mean to me if something happened to Mrs. Nolin." After a questioning pause, I replied, "You do know Mrs. Nolin is my mom, right?" She was a mom, and she was a music teacher, and she felt it unnecessary to separate those aspects of herself. She lived believing that those could live harmoniously together, successfully. I think I can speak for my siblings and say that she modeled that for us. She let us know that we were uniquely created by God, and that we should desire to use who we were created to be to serve others. That's who Mom was, and that's what she did. I don't know if I've lived up to the bar she set, but I know that she loved us unconditionally. She took joy in our successes, and she walked at our side through our struggles. The older I get, the more I see of Mom in me, and I've heard that from a few of you today, and in Julie and Dave. The most frustrating part of her Alzheimer's for me was not that I would be losing my mom, because I had in abundance all that a daughter could have in Mom, in every phase of my life: a child, a teenager, a young wife and mother, and a growing and maturing woman. The greatest frustration of Mom's disease was knowing that a woman who had so much talent, love, drive, and grace would slowly fade in her direct contribution to the world. But when I step back and really look, I see her everywhere. I see her zeal for life in Tony, my Tony, and how he throws himself with such enthusiasm into everything he does. I see her in Maddie when she uses the Nana finger point. But with that comes a Nana's candor and clarity in saying what often needs to be said. And I see it in Brad, my oldest, who bears Nana's calming spirit and God is pleased to have her home. Upon her arrival in her eternal home, I am sure that she heard the words she's been waiting to hear. Well done, good and faithful servant. Mom, we love you, and we'll continue to live our lives to honor you.
Kathleen was Nana.
No, she wasn't my grandmother. I know I look young. Mike had asked some of the grandkids if they had some things to say, and we do have a daughter, Jennifer, who lives in Madrid, Spain, and she was unable, sadly, to make it back. I'm sure she's over there right now crying because she would love to be here, but she did send her memory along, and I've been designated to read that. My fondest memories of Nana are the sleepovers we had. I would go over to the house sometime in the afternoon, and Nana and I would go out and get some food and a rented movie. I had my pull-out bed that Grandpa would set out for me, and Nana would put the sheets on in her most perfect way. We ate, and then came my favorite part, the bubble bath. She always made it up so special, dozens of candles and bubbles galore. She would sit by my side while I relaxed and told me stories about her life. I always felt so lucky to be where I was. After, Nana would always lend me one of her little silk 90s. I remember feeling so comfy. I'll never forget the time when she had me trying to brush my teeth with baking soda. That only happened once. Then we would walk or talk or watch the movie we had rented. I remember one specific time we watched Elizabeth, about the late British Queen, fitting to her love of biographies. We would then fall asleep to the sound of Nana's talk radio. It was calming, and I loved having her nearby while I slept. She didn't ever seem to need much sleep, but I always felt protected with her there.
My cousin Maddie reflected this way on Nana. Sleepovers! She would let me and Katie wear and model her fur coat, along with count the money that she kept in the tins under the closet and in every hiding place imaginable. Maddie recalls her most fond memory of Nana, I guess maybe fond and funny. She says, I was at an indoor soccer game, and after Nana was, like always, doing her own thing, and just tap dancing in the entranceway, one of my teammates shoved me into the bathroom and said, did you see that lady dancing out there? With a huge smile on my face, I proudly replied, yep, that's my grandma. She was always doing her own thing, such an individual. Maddie also recalls blankets. She made blankets, Afghans, and allowed you to go into her bedroom and to pick out the most perfect one for you. That's how Maddie